Time for the unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com. Featuring site publishers Carrie Murdoch and Josh McQuistion, along with videographer Eddie Radosevich. It's the unofficial 40 on Soonerscoop.com.
All right, welcome back. It is another edition. It's the Big 12 Championship edition of the unofficial 40 right here on Soonerscoop.com. We welcome in Josh McQuistion and Eddie Radosevich, and we are getting ready for a huge weekend. High school football, the Big 12 Championship going. The college football playoff rankings just released Tuesday night, and we're going to be all over the place this weekend. Eddie's going to be going to Waco to check out quarterback commitment.
Tanner Mordecai.
Don't cut yourself, Mordecai. Bob Prisbillo is being the real trooper this weekend. I was like, Bob, you don't have to go to Owasso Union. You can just, come down to Dallas, or you can stay. You don't have to come to Dallas if you don't want to. He's like, no, I want to go to both. So he's going to go up to Tulsa to cover that game, drive home, go to sleep, wake up at 5:30 in the morning. And I was like, dude, I'll get you a hotel in Ardmore. He's like, no, I don't want to do that.
I don't know if I'd want to stay in a hotel in Ardmore either.
Ardmore is a nice place, Eddie.
I got a lot of friends from Ardmore.
It's getting nicer.
A lot of friends from
that
Ardmore.
live there?
They're
like your age?
I got a couple buddies, or one buddy that does live down there, yeah.
And what does he think of lovely Ardmore?
He loves Ardmore.
Ardmore and Duncan have a rivalry.
DJ's a good guy. You can probably find him over at, what's it called? Country Club. Dornick, yeah.
Is it Dornick Hills?
He actually is.
Great course.
I think he's actually the mayor of Ardmore.
So Josh McQuistion joins us as well. Josh, good afternoon to you.
Yeah, my first drop in was a random golf course in South Central Oklahoma.
I appreciated that though. That was a good drop.
Yeah, I got you. That's what I'm here for.
Between the three of us with high school coverage this weekend, we will probably go to more games than James Hell has gone to in 10 years. Just throwing it out there.
Pretty modest.
Anyway, Josh, how are you doing today?
I'm good, guys. It's kind of a sad day in the McQuistion household. I just finished having some lunch and finished up the last of Thanksgiving leftovers, and it's a sad day for me. I've
had him twice, and that's enough. There's still some left in my refrigerator. I can't do anymore. I just can't.
The only thing I tire out of is turkey. Turkey, I have a real low threshold. Don't need a lot of turkey. But all the sides, I can do that all day.
But, mashed potatoes don't keep. The only good mashed potatoes are fresh mashed potatoes.
It's true. That is, and honestly, the problem with that is with Tiffany, with her pregnancy, there's still a lot of stuff she wants to eat, doesn't want to eat, that kind of thing. So her and her mother made an obscene amount of mashed potatoes. Like, we could have fed, the air cavalry. It was crazy. And so there were a lot left over, and everybody's like, well, just send them home with Josh. He'll eat them. And I'm like, I don't want cold, because you're right. The texture's never right again. It's not kind of creamy. It's just, they're kind of like little ball. It's just not as good. But, you do what you can. But with dressing, and obviously Eddie, respects green bean casserole, all these kind of things, I can keep eating those forever. And I'm one of those people that, Tiffany's like, you're still eating that? We made that a week ago. I'm like, it's fine. I've never gotten sick from a leftover. I'm all good.
I'm just glad no one got sick. There's no food poisoning. That sometimes happens during the holidays. That's happened to me before.
I've only had one bout, and that was from a pizza chain, and it was ugly.
My mom tried to kill us all one year. We all got violently ill after Thanksgiving, and it was overnight, just spewing from both ends for 3 days straight. I think I turned green at one point.
I was 21, so I had, I don't think most women understand how stupid we all are in our early 20s. Men, we don't know how to do anything. And I I don't want to make that sound like I lived by myself, and I had my own, do my own laundry, all that stuff. I was good with that. But taking care of myself, I had no ability to do that. And so I had food poisoning, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm burning up.
You just get in bed and you stay there as long as you can.
This was my coping mechanism. I literally laid a towel underneath myself on my linoleum floor in my apartment kitchen, and was like pouring water on myself. Like I was so hot. I was like,
God.
I have to do anything to make this
that's not
stop.
normal. That is not normal.
Well,
That's not normal behavior.
I think we all know that maybe Josh is not the most normal guy around. So I have a different take on things. And that's
Were
one of
you
the things I
naked
look
when
back
you
and
did
like,
this?
that was stupid.
Were you like
that was really
completely
stupid.
naked when you were doing this?
No, it wasn't like, there was no crying game situation going on or anything like that. But
That's
it was
really weird.
God, I was just so miserable. And I didn't know why. Like I didn't even know it was food poisoning until months later. Like I just thought I'd gotten a bug. I had no idea. And you guys have to understand. I mean, you guys know me. Like I never get sick. I'm never sick. I'm never under the weather. Tiffany tells everybody, like, we've been together almost 12 years now, and she's never known me to have a cold. Like that. I mean, that just my immune system's really strong. So when I do get sick, I have no idea what to do. I'm just completely lost.
I can't imagine what sick Eddie is like.
Never get sick.
Yeah, Eddie seems like a strong. You're.
But you've had the
you're a
flu
sickly
before.
guy.
I've had
You're a
the flu,
viral
but I've
plague.
never get sick. Never get food poison.
Do you think that maybe
If I say that I'm
you're
sick,
a
I'm probably
superhero
lying.
and you're invincible and you just don't know it?
If I say that I'm sick, I'm probably lying and just don't want to come to work.
Well, I can't think of many times when you just said I can't do that. I'm sick.
I don't get sick. I'll get like the cold every once in a while, but they're just
You guys have lived
Run down.
charmed lives. Like, you've never really had bosses. You can tell. Because no sane human would say, oh, I never get sick.
I don't.
You have sick days for a reason.
No,
Never brag about how you don't get sick.
The only times that I don't go to work are when the internet's out, and the internet never goes
But
out.
what I'm saying is you have a job where basically your bosses don't care what you do.
Carrie, I was that way growing up. I literally, from the time I was in kindergarten till I graduated till midway through my senior year of high school, I missed 6 days of school. And like
you're a
several
dork.
of the, like one of those was I went to take my driver's exam. Like stuff like that had nothing to do with sickness. Like I don't get sick. I just don't.
Yeah.
And so it's never, and I like, and my mom always had a rule. Like if I got sick, I couldn't go to play baseball or I couldn't go to football practice. Well, I wanted to do all that crap and I was always playing sports. So I went to school. Like it never occurred to me not to.
I was about the same way. I would usually get the award at the end of the year for perfect attendance or whatever.
Yep. I was just wired that way.
For some reason today, I've been all carefree. Although, when people have wanted to argue about it, I've argued. I mean, whether it's the Mike Gundy stuff or job openings, I've argued about the playoff stuff today a little bit. But generally, my feeling is I don't care. Like, I feel very easygoing. I know that's not good for the podcast because, everyone wants to hear us triggered.
Hot takes.
But I just don't. I'm not all that pissed off. I can't get myself to be that pissed off that the playoff committee did what it wanted or did what it did.
It is what it is. The playoff committee is a retirement center for old folks that just need to probably die off. And and that will happen eventually because that's what old people do. They die. But Kirby Hokut's just a caretaker for a retirement center. That's all he is. While he runs a athletic department in Texas Tech that has never done anything. So,
Their baseball team's pretty good.
Yeah, and they don't do anything.
They don't make any money, though.
No one cares.
In the end, I just don't think it matters, and that's why I can't get fired up about it. They're probably going to play Auburn, and they're probably going to play in Pasadena. At that point, what difference does it make?
Yeah, and here's the thing. Like, if everybody wins out and you don't change anything, then you're stupid. If you do change things, then you're stupid.
Well, I think, though, that after last night, it is very clear that thank God for the SEC. I'm just glad that they let everybody else play college football.
I was kind of thinking about this the other day. It's bad. I don't know if it's bad to say out loud, but like Tommy Tuberville did that stupid thing where he what was his Final Four? It was like Clemson, Georgia, Alabama, and Auburn. 3 SEC teams. He talked about other people don't play football like they do in the SEC way. It's like, I just picture Tommy Tuberville as like a modern day KKK Klans leader, like except instead of racism, it's SEC football. Like if you don't play SEC football, you have to drink in another water fountain. You can't use this one.
That's probably the way they think. I mean, half of them are going to be voting for a guy that's running for Senate that raped a bunch of girls anyways, so.
Just going to let that one slide too.
Guys, we talked about it last week.
There's nothing that has come out of the Southeastern Conference that's good.
I'm trying to think. I like Steve Spurrier.
Yeah. And how hard was he trolling everybody on the Tennessee thing with Bob Stoops? That was amazing.
Yeah, I
pretty good, but he's part of the problem.
I like Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning doesn't do much for me.
Hey, now we're going too far, Eddie.
Peyton Manning's biggest problem is he's not Tom Brady, so.
I wish I could argue that. But literally, what does Peyton Manning win over Tom Brady? Like what? Like he's funnier. I don't think there's any question. He's funnier.
He's better. He's a better Saturday Night Live host.
Yep.
Has Tom Brady ever hosted?
Yeah.
He has.
Remember they did the one where
the Manning skit where he's working with the United Way.
The kids.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's one of the funniest damn things I've ever seen. And I think I would think that was really funny even if I didn't love Peyton Manning.
It is really good.
Yeah. But no, I mean, but like wife, nope. Like Tom Brady's one of those dudes. Like even as like the manliest dude could be like, that's a good looking dude. Like I get why women are attracted to him. Like it's not rocket science. Or he's friggin' great. He's got 4 Super Bowl rings. Like there's nothing not to like about Tom Brady.
So I mean, like the poll stuff. I mean, we can talk about that. But here's really Big 12 championship. This is we buried the lead, but the whole Gary Patterson versus Baker Mayfield is what's blowing up right now, and what everyone will be talking about leading up to the game. And I feel stupid in a way because we've all known about this since the TCU game, that Baker Mayfield earholed that Nico Smalls guy during warm-ups. Eddie had video of his reaction after he did it, posted it online, and then the kid came forward to say, I've got video of him throwing the ball, responding to you, and now everybody's picked up on that.
And he's deleted it.
He's deleted it?
Yeah, because there were so many. Yesterday, my timeline was full. It was like the Baylor game when the entire world is asking for permission to use it, so he just deleted it.
He's like, I don't.
He's like, I don't. He told a couple people no, and then he just deleted it, which is kind of baller. Yeah, can I say that I think it's the laziest storyline of all time?
But when Gary Patterson speaks out about it and insinuates twice now that is why Nico Small has been missing games
again
when
lazy.
He had 9 tackles in the game.
It's lazy.
By the way, did you see that Baker Mayfield may have been the person that gave him a concussion in a game? Did you notice that?
He threw his head down?
Yes. He stiff-armed him and threw his head into the turf.
Well, don't be soft. Learn to tackle.
Okay, so Patterson's not trying to argue that the concussion happened from the hit, right?
He's insinuating. No, he's insinuating that it in fact did.
Yeah.
And
then he played him. Like, does he not realize that puts him in legal jeopardy? Is he an idiot? I almost dropped an F-bomb there. Like, you are literally more responsible for the problem than Baker Mayfield is.
The best part about Gary Patterson talking about player safety, and I tweeted it yesterday, is the fact that OU, the last 3 times OU has played TCU has had a player ejected for targeting.
And they should have had people ejected for targeting on Joe Mixon.
That's right.
Remember that?
Last year.
Guy led with the crown of his helmet, and Mixon's helmet flew apart.
Yeah.
Like his ear pads flew out of his helmet.
I remember that. Go ahead, Josh.
All 3 of the ejections were Mayfield related, weren't they?
I don't think the kicking was.
No, the kicking
Mayfield
was the offensive lineman. Yeah,
November 11th.
That's right. Yeah.
He was down on the ground, and he just kind of. I thought it was a BS ejection.
The previous 2 years were though. I know the one 2 years ago was the 2015.
Yeah, the Ty Summers one, and then Paul Whitmill was in 2016, and I believe that was as well some kind of targeting against Mayfield.
So you've got 2 with Mayfield, 1 with Mixon, and the other one with Orlando Brown. Is that right?
I think it was Orlando, or it might have been Bobby Evans. I really can't remember. And
pretty interesting targets. I'm just saying it's weird that those are the guys you got into it with.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't think that there's any doubt. This is the thing, though. I said that it was lazy earlier, and I might back off of that a little bit. But at the end of the day, Gary Patterson, and I told Carrie this yesterday, Gary Patterson and Baker Mayfield, they're a lot alike.
Yeah, they're kind of
the same person.
They're both extremely competitive. They both say, kind of whatever they want to say.
And they're always looking for that little
they want to edge. They want a chip on their shoulder.
So, like, I get it. OU fans are going to bitch about Gary Patterson. TCU fans are going to bitch about Baker Mayfield. It's kind of a round circle. It never ends. But at the same time, hell, at least people locally are talking about the Big 12 championship. We're not having to talk about what music's going to be played at Jerry World.
Okay.
Which is, by the way, one of the worst venues in sports. I'll say it.
I don't think it's that great. Yeah. It's very sterile.
For a college game, it sucks.
Yeah.
It absolutely sucks.
I've been to a pro game there. I mean, it's just okay. It's got a giant screen in the middle of it. Other than that, it doesn't do much for me.
It's a shitty place for a shitty franchise.
It's made for the huge, corporate entities. It's not made for the everyday fan.
Right.
It's made so they can sell huge ticket packages to, Shell or whoever else wants to buy out a box for millions of dollars per season. I mean, that's what that is, and that's why you get a crappy venue. That's why you get stuff like that, because it's not made for the 60,000. It's made for the 5,000 that fill up the boxes.
Well, look, I mean, what's amazing about this whole thing with Patterson and Mayfield is you're stirring up a hornet's nest that happened before the whole apology and suspension thing. So it's like, and Lincoln Riley's already been asked about it. And he blamed TCU for going through their walkthrough or for their warm-up.
The other part of the Gary Patterson thing yesterday was classic, too, in that he's pretty much said, they learned it from Tech. It's a bunch of Tech guys. Yeah. It's a bunch of Tech guys. They know what they're doing.
Because he doesn't want to – he's always careful not to rip on OU as a school.
Yeah.
Because, let's face it, TCU is lucky to be in this conference.
Well, I just don't, it really doesn't bother me that much. It's like, yeah, Gary Patterson's kind of a bitch for bringing it up and still harping on it, but I think Mayfield would do the same thing if it was reversed.
It forced me to go back and look at some of the stuff. When Baker was at the college football playoff, he kind of lobbed the first shot about TCU and how they strung me out, in recruiting, and I thought they were gonna offer me, and that they lied to me and didn't give me one, and then I lost a chance to go to other places. And then Gary Patterson clapped back at him and said, "You ever met his dad? His dad thinks he knows everything." Like, totally.
He went for the throat.
Yeah,
on that
totally. One. Just went after Mayfield and his family, defending his program. So, and that was the first time, and it's been and I think that was after he went down there to try and steal signals. I mean, these two just always find something to go at each other about.
If Gary Patterson is doing this to motivate his team, or to probably even worse, if he is doing this because he thinks he's going to rattle Baker Mayfield or get Baker Mayfield two up or whatever, Carrie, I'm going to pull an Eddie, mark it. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
That's Josh's first F-bomb, I think.
I think that's right.
I went 6 to midnight.
I don't know how people can't get this. A pissed off Baker Mayfield is worse for you. Carrie, you talked about it before.
Pissed off Oklahoma. I mean, look at West Virginia. Look at Baylor. Look at all these schools that try and get in fights with them before games. It never pays off for them.
It goes bad. I thought the OSU guy that you quoted, and I can't remember who it was, Carrie, one of the blogs or something, it might have been Pistols Firing, that was like, don't agitate him. That's the right way to go. You want a calm, friendly, nice Baker Mayfield. The pissed off, I've got something to prove Baker Mayfield goes horrible. Ask Ohio State how that goes. Like that, OU fans should be wrapping themselves up in the Dallas and all these press clippings from Gary Patterson and making sure Baker sees them right before kickoff on Saturday. shove them in his face because.
Oh, he's got his wall. I mean, I can't imagine what's been written on his wall this week.
I mean, Baker doesn't even have to create it this week. It's there for him. Just take it and go crazy.
Floor to ceiling, just a big list. Probably.
You think it's like paper mache, like the things we did like in like elementary? You know, it's all kind of glued down.
He has so many people that he has had to write their name on the list that he's probably overtaken Parrish Cobb's old locker and just started writing in that one too.
Well, now they've got.
He just stole Parrish Cobb's locker.
He is, as of recording this podcast, the morning before we recorded it, Baker came out and defended his offensive line because they got left out of the top 3 in the Joe Moore offensive line, which I think is really a crime. I mean,
yeah, it's kind of crazy.
When Auburn, and it was Auburn, Alabama, and who?
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
Auburn? I missed this.
No, yeah,
Did they
Auburn.
lost the Clemson game?
No. I'm saying, oh yeah, they did. They lost Auburn got beat by Clemson because they gave up 8 sacks to Jarrett Stidham.
Yeah. Auburn, Alabama, and Notre Dame are the finalists for the Joe Moore Award, which goes to, I guess, the best offensive line unit in the country.
Yeah.
Which, not to mention, Bill Beatembo, the coach of the position group, is up for the Broyles Award. Yeah. But that's like the perfect college football analogy, or like deep look inside of when some stuff just never makes sense. When the position coach is up for the Assistant of the Year award, but the actual position group isn't up for the position group of the year.
Yeah. Well, they're not all connected, so you can have idiots.
Yeah.
I don't know, if your job is to know who has the best offensive line, and I don't think it's an overreaction to not know that Oklahoma is as good as they are, and the reason that Baker Mayfield is as good as he is because of the offensive line. I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer. You'd have to give it to Oklahoma. Alabama had problems running the ball this year.
Alabama couldn't run the ball against Auburn last week. That was their whole problem.
Guys, we're just lucky to be here that the SEC allows us to watch college football.
God, OU really needs to win a national championship. The Big 12 really needs a national championship. I don't even know if it's going to help if OU wins it. Like,
they'll just be like, oh,
Big 12,
Oklahoma's so much better than everybody else.
Oklahoma, they're not really a Big 12
That's
team.
why they've won 25 of their last 26 against the Big 12.
No one can beat them in the Big 12. They're an SEC team that plays in that league.
It's just like Ohio State from the Big Ten. The Big Ten doesn't get credit. It's just Ohio State happens to be good, and they kind of stand out from the rest of the Big Ten. Or USC from the Pac-12.
Doesn't help when Michigan State goes to the playoff and gets beat, 38-0 or whatever?
Breaks beaten off of them.
The Big Ten has not scored in the college football playoff in the last 2 years, right?
Yeah, Ohio State won the first one.
Right, but the last 2 years,
but 38-0 and 31-0,
the Big Ten hasn't scored.
Right.
I saw somebody
courtesy of, one was Clemson and one was Alabama.
Somebody said that yesterday that Central Florida went from 0-11 to 11-0 in the amount of time that it's taken the Big Ten to score a touchdown in the college football playoff.
That's pretty good. By the way, I just want to tell everyone out there listening, there have been no sexual harassment scandals at Sooner Scoop this week.
Gosh, rest in peace, Matt Lauer.
Boy, that's...
We have officially started a big group text with my buddies. We have
trying to figure out what it was.
We have a sexual assault pool.
A dead pool?
Yeah.
For sexual assault. Who's going to be next?
Yeah. I have a couple good ones that I'm waiting on. I don't know if I want to jinx them, but one is it's a futures bet and it will happen after she dies.
Oh, it's a woman, huh?
Yeah. I would say a prominent woman in politics. And may or may not have been a first lady.
Sexual conduct doesn't stick to people in politics. Clinton. It doesn't. It doesn't stick.
That's true.
I think she may be asexual. I don't know that that's going to work.
Well, no, I think that there is a very good chance that...
You know the first person that came to my mind...
She has probably come on a sorority girl that interned for that staff.
You know who first came to my mind when you said that?
Local or national?
National. Entertainment. Kelly Ripa. See her forcing dudes to
No, I'd probably let it happen.
I was going to say, I'm wondering
nobody's reporting her.
Yeah, no one's.
That's
she's
out
too
there.
attractive.
It's going to have to be somebody like a horse face or something.
Just trying to think of somebody now.
Somebody in position of power.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna have to be like a game show guy next or something, like
Ooh,
Drew Carey.
Drew Carey, yeah. Oh, Bob Barker.
What if we find out that
Bob Barker might get in there?
Alex Trebek has been? Of course, he's from Canada.
Bob Barker didn't throw himself on anyone. Bob Barker just got it when he wanted it. So that's different.
No, Bob Barker paid people off. He's lost sexual assault suits.
Oh, has he really?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
That really crushes me.
It's already happened. For him.
Go look it up. He's had to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to shut people up.
I grew up with Bob Barker. That's a little disheartening for me there. That's a guy I thought he was the good.
No, that was I saw KFC Barstool today tweet. If you think Bob Barker is not fleeing the country right now, you're crazy.
Happy Gilmore should have kicked his ass when he had the chance.
So, no, but back to the Big 12 coming up. I thought one of the interesting topics this week that was kind of brought, and I'm kind of writing about it right now, but Baker Mayfield was asked about the Heisman and kind of dealing with that. He's just on the cover of Sports Illustrated. I started reading that story. It's a very long story. The first part of it was good, and it's a lot of information that you already know. There's some things in there that I saw kind of from his mom that was interesting. But he was asked this week about the Heisman and all the hype and how he deals with it. And this was his answer.
For me, it's, obviously that would be something very special to me. I'm not going to downplay that and act like it's not a big deal. But I didn't come back here to win a Heisman. I came back to win a national title. So for me, the mindset is I got to win against TCU, and then I got to win the next 2 games after that. And so whatever happens along the way, I've said it, the good teams in the end of the year are going to have individual players get recognition. And like I said, I have a great supporting cast. None of that talk would be happening if I didn't have those people and my coaches. But right now, it's not about the Heisman. It's about a national title.
Josh, I don't know if you could hear that by the time we were done, if that came on for you. I guess we're back to Josh can't hear stuff again. That's just not awesome. But Baker Mayfield, he's one guy that I really do believe that it's not going to affect him. He's been to New York. He's been a finalist twice. He knows what that's all about. It's not overwhelming, I don't think, for him. He's up for every award that you could possibly be up for. And everybody's talking about how he's going to win. I think maybe if he were in a really close race, like if there were a quarterback for Clemson, like a Deshaun Watson, and nobody really knew who was going to win it, maybe he'd feel some pressure to play really. But he's so far ahead, I think he knows there's no game that he needs to put together to impress people.
I think as a whole, they've been in this situation. I mean, even going back to 2015 when they couldn't lose and had to win out to get into the playoffs for the first time. I guess it's a little bit different just in that the individual factor is there. He's, definitely going to probably win the Heisman next Saturday if, unless something just drastically, I guess, terrible happens. But,
5 interceptions.
Yeah, I don't even know if he threw 5 interceptions. Would he still win it possibly? I don't think that, and I also don't think
who else is going to take it, though? I mean, Bryce Love would have to have 400 yards or something against USC. Maybe
500 yards. I really don't know. It is as wrapped up as it has been in a long time. And, I think that one of the things that you look at going into Saturday's game is just the fact that it is a rematch. I thought that it's been interesting hearing the players talk about that kind of stuff throughout the week, and just that it's a little different. I guess in a way it kind of is like the first time around when TCU came to Norman, is the fact that there hasn't been a whole lot of, or am I just completely missing the game aspect of this, or too many people looking at, they beat them by 18 in Norman, or they're going to kick their ass again.
Well, and that was the thing. It was like there was this thought process, or this kind of narrative that was coming out of Fort Worth that, we did a really good job shutting them down in the second half. So once this game starts, we figured them out. Baker Mayfield threw the ball 5 times in the second half.
Yeah,
that's about on average, right?
Yeah, per possession.
Well, here's Lincoln Riley talking about that matchup.
Both teams are going to have a better feel for each other's personnel. You will have, prepped for each team multiple weeks now. So, I don't think there'll be as many surprises. I mean, you still just it comes down to winning your individual battles and playing great team football. And that's what it's going to take for us to beat TCU. That's what it'll take for TCU to beat us. I mean, it's two great teams going at it. Whether it's good or bad, I guess that's all in how you make it.
So here's the thing, and this is what I thought yesterday. Like, we hear this all the time, guys. When an offense and a defense go through, like, fall camp, they always say this, like, advantage defense when you see each other every day. So I would say in this game, advantage defense for both teams.
How much pressure, or I don't know if it's pressure, but how much, I guess, focus is put on Lincoln Riley versus Sonny Cumbie then, just as far as like the different tweaks that they're going to make to their offense? Or is OU rolling so well right now, do they make very many adjustments? I really don't know.
I'm not overthinking things. I mean, Oklahoma, after what was it? What did they score? 5 straight possessions in that game? Like
last week or in
the last time they played?
No, I'm sorry, against TCU. Sorry. Yeah, this idea.
It was 38-10 at halftime, right? 38-10, or was it?
Yeah,
the final was 38-20.
38 was 38-17. No, it was 38-10, I think. Because it was I know for a fact they scored 38 because that was the most points that TCU had given up all year in the first
36
half.
to SMU
was the highest.
SMU was the highest they'd given up.
OSU scored 32, maybe
33,
something like that. It was a weird number.
And in the first half, they're going to be without one of their better defenders, a Nick Orr. I'm just not. Kerry, we talked about this for the first meeting. Like, there are things I like about TCU. I don't feel like if OU goes out and plays their B-plus game, I don't think TCU can beat them. I don't think OU has to be perfect to beat TCU. I think it is a very fortunate break for OU that TCU found a way to win last week. Oklahoma State, that's a scary thing for OU because they can go point for point with OU.
Yeah.
I don't think TCU can keep pace offensively, not with Kenny Hill. I don't. Because even if you want to say TCU stays in this game, it's the same argument I came back to last time. You get down to the fourth quarter, you got to have guys making plays. Look at Baker Mayfield and his playmakers, who has, I mean, guys, let's face it, the running back in the country that's playing the best football in the country right now is Rodney Anderson. As crazy as that is to say,
it's weird.
You can look at it by any measurement. He is, he's as good as any back in the country over the last half of the season.
It is incredible just what he's been able to do. They put it in the stat book this week. No player in the country over the last 3 weeks has more touchdowns from scrimmage than Rodney Anderson, and I think he scored 9 touchdowns. Josh, I distinctly remember DMing the group message, and I think it was in the first half of the K-State game, and we were bitching about Rodney Anderson, and I think I remember saying something to the effect of, giving Rodney Anderson carries right now is just a waste of a play. And then all of a sudden he is now on a run that, I mean, it is very close to being a Joe Mixon-esque run. Just as far as when he touches the ball, you feel like he can almost score every time. Or at least pick up a really good amount of yards.
I keep thinking this is a blip, like he's going to come back down to earth. He's going to look more like the guy that I recognize. I'm starting to have to face the fact this is who he is. He's really, really good. And out of high school, I didn't give him enough credit. And early in the year, I think anyone that says they saw this coming is full of shit. There's no way.
Oh, and especially after the first couple games. I mean,
exactly.
Because he just didn't look like the same guy.
Exactly. And and you have to maybe we were all a little too harsh because it was taking him some time to get back to speed. He hadn't really played in a game in 2 years. That's all understandable. But even if you would have allowed for that, I don't think you could have reasonably expected this is what you were going to get by the time of the Big 12 championship game.
I found my final game packet. It was 38-14 at halftime.
Okay.
And no one scored at all in the third quarter. So, I mean, I'm just looking. TCU scored 6 points on a pass with 10:44 left to go in the game. That was it. And Kenny Hill was still playing at that point. I mean, Sean Robinson came in and played one series. And that's another, like, Gary Patterson, worried about concussions. I think Kenny Hill missed, did he miss the next game or the next 2 games after that? He missed the Tech game, right?
Yeah, he did. He sat out the Tech game, but he played against Baylor last week.
And I'm just trying to look. I mean, like Baker Mayfield passed the ball 27 times in that game.
Didn't he have?
They ran it.
He had damn near 300 yards at halftime, right?
Yeah, I mean, he finished
like 285 or something.
Let me look at halftime stats because he had 27 for the game, and so I was trying to figure out if that's right. If he threw it 5 times.
Well, the first TCU game, the first time around, that was kind of like the Rodney Anderson coming out party. He had
299 yards at halftime,
right?
With
Okay,
3 touchdowns. He threw the ball 6 times in the second half. He threw it 21 times in the first half.
And it was Rodney Anderson, which was kind of highlighted a little bit yesterday at practice, just as far as, Josh, have you been surprised how good Rodney Anderson has been catching the ball? That has surprised me a little bit.
Baker nailed it on the head a few weeks ago when he was like, yeah, they weren't throwing the ball to him a lot of the backfield at Katie. Like, for those that don't know, Katie's running power ISO. Like, there's nothing complicated about what Katie does. And I bet you I would be shocked if in his entire high school career, Rodney Anderson was targeted more than 15 times. And this is a guy that played 3 years for a team that went to, I believe, the state finals all 3 years of his high school career. So you're talking at least 48 games. I mean, you're talking a lot of football.
I think he said something at one of the post practices this year. Somebody asked him how many times he caught a ball in a game at Katy, and I think Rodney even said, I don't know, Kerry, were you standing over there? I think he said I don't know, I think 3 or 4 times total.
I mean, that's just not what Katy does. It's kind of one of those things where why the hell would you do it? They can just run it down everybody's throat. So it's Katy is like one of those outliers. They're just different from everybody else in Texas that want to throw it all over the field like Lake Travis. So, but yeah, it's amazing to me how he's developed that catch. And going back to the TCU game, that throw that Baker hit him on that he kind of leaped and he was turning his body around, that was a Joe Mixon catch.
Yeah.
Like, that was a great catch that you would, if he wouldn't have made that, you'd have been like, that's tough to do. You can't expect that of him. And then, so it's amazing to me because I don't even know that you knew what his skill set in that regard was coming out of high school because you just didn't see it.
See, they ran the ball 15 times in the first half. I mean, we were talking about, TCU figured it out. They shut them down. They know what to do now going forward. They ran it 15 times in the first half. They finished the game. They ran it, I'm trying to think here, 6 and 15. They ran it 21 times and threw it 6 times in the second. I mean, they shut it down. So I want to hear all this. They figured it out in the second half.
Yeah, I was talking to a buddy. I was like, they didn't hit the brakes. They turned the car off and got out. Like, there was no – the OU was just waiting for the Big 12 championship game. There was no way TCU just wasn't going to run up those kind of points that night. And you have to give OU's defense some credit. They did a really nice job with TCU that night. And the other thing to remember, coming into that game, TCU had Darius Anderson, who I think is their best back. And they're not going to have him on Saturday.
Yeah.
And that's a big loss. That's a big, powerful guy that really churns out some yardage. He killed Oklahoma State in Stillwater.
He had 42 yards on 7 carries and a touchdown before he got hurt.
The first quarter was rough defensively, but after that they figured it out. The 2 plays in particular was the missed tackle in the hole on Robert Barnes. I think it ended up being like a 45-yard gain, and then they got Oboe out in the flat, and Kenny Hill made a really nice throw. And I think that was that the second play of the game, maybe?
I can't even remember. I'll just say this. I mean, the one thing about OU, and the biggest advantage they have on pretty much everybody they play, but this is TCU in particular. TCU defensively, they win because they dominate more people with their defensive line than anybody else in the conference. But when they play Oklahoma, they lose that advantage. The Bamiga guy is fantastic until he comes up against Bobby Evans.
Yeah, he's coming off of Defensive Player of the Week, 5 sacks last week against Baylor.
He can't do anything against Bobby Evans.
I think go back and watch that game. Bobby Evans owned him.
Yeah.
I mean, just all night. I don't even remember saying his name. Like, I don't remember noticing him. Evans was awesome.
I watched him against
night.
Texas, and he just destroyed Texas.
Yeah. Oh, he's a good player. And that's the thing. I was talking to somebody, and they're like, and you kind of think about it like, well, what can TCU do? Oh, well, we'll shift him over to the other side. Oh, Orlando Brown, you feel like that's going to go real well? Like, there's no way for him to win. Like, they're going to have to win with guys like Ross Blacklock and some of those guys inside that I think do have some talent. But like you said, Kerry, that goes from your defense is built around a we're going to win up front. We can win. We're going to beat everybody in the league with those guys.
Yeah, we're going to rush for, get pressure, and then play good in the back end. Well, your back end can't hold up when the four that you usually rushing can't get there. And they blitzed too, and they couldn't get there. I mean, they said five a lot.
Yeah, and that's another thing that didn't get enough credit. Eric Wren had a great night that night. I mean, they did really – TCU throws a lot of looks at you up front, and Oklahoma's blitz pickups were great all night.
Now, they did lose Bosen to – and what – that was that first half? Or was that right after halftime?
I think that was first half. I want to say it was late first half.
It was first half because OU, I want to say it was on the drive. It was on the drive that they scored before the Rodney Anderson reception at the very end of the half. It was the second to last touchdown of the half.
Well, here's the thing. And Lincoln Riley, I think he's fighting two things this week with his team, which is one, just not listening to the hype or not getting his players to think ahead to the college football playoff. The other thing is he knows that his team just dominated TCU offensively. And I think he knows if they let down, TCU is good enough to embarrass them. And he was asked about TCU's defense and playing well and in the second half and things like that. And here's Lincoln Riley.
I mean, these guys are really, really darn good on defense. I mean, they are, and it's a challenge. When we got on a run and scored some points here, we played at we did some things at a high level. We had some guys that made some outstanding individual plays. But to sit there and think that it was easy or that it wasn't a challenge every snap is just not right. It wasn't easy then. We had to earn everything that we did. I'm sure we went back and looked at it and said, hey, there's a lot of things we got to do better. I'm sure Coach Patterson did the same with his group. So look, it's going to be a battle. I am very confident in our offense, but also, I know how good these guys are defensively. They're tremendous.
And, I mean, what he's saying is they're really good. We have to play really, really well in order to make plays on them. And I think he just doesn't want them to take it for granted that they did play that well.
I've been fooled before. I've been fooled before many times, and I think I've said this many times. But perhaps this is the first time in a while that I can say it with full 100% confidence. That it feels like I don't know, Kerry. It almost feels like this team has a bigger purpose right now, maturity-wise. Does that make sense, or am I just buying way too much into the hype machine?
All that seems like it until a team goes out and lays an egg.
I've said it before, and I guess I have to remember about the Iowa State game. I laughed at the Iowa State
you
pregame
laughed at the
show.
pregame show. You're like, doesn't matter who they put at quarterback, they're going to get.
Yeah, it just I don't know. I've started to buy into the idea that this team could win a national championship, and I think a lot of people have on the type of run that they're on. But at the same time, you still got to go down to Arlington. You still got to win, and I think it's going to be extremely tough. I think that the people that think that OU's just going to show up and win on Saturday couldn't be any more wrong.
By the way, it's huge. You mentioned the Iowa State loss. I know people don't care about this. You should care. But it's huge for the conference that Iowa State re-signs him for 6 years.
Shocking. I think it's shocking.
It shows you that he likes the administration down there. He likes the direction.
Yeah, and I think maybe it also says something about the other jobs that are open right now. Like, we were talking about this before practice yesterday.
He's a god in Ames. Like,
oh yeah, there's no doubt.
I mean, if he took the Florida job or hell, even Mississippi State, that's not an easy job. That's not without, its demands and expectations.
Well, all the schools that have job openings right now, they're usually in this position every 5 or 6 years.
Yeah,
it's just, and at some point, people are going to realize, and hopefully, I don't know about hopefully, but at some point they're going to realize it, specifically in Austin, that maybe the head coach isn't the problem.
Or you think they'd figure that out at Texas A&M too?
I don't think that unless they can come together at one of their cult meetings and get on the same page, I don't think that they're ever going to figure it out.
No, they've got too many hands in the cookie jar.
Instead of Mormons, do they have A&M fans come door to door in Houston, Josh?
I've never seen
looking to come build
like Mormons, riding around on, instead of bicycles, maybe it's like, horses or something.
Handing out newsletters from Dennis Franchione days.
I forgot he did his own newsletter.
All hail R.C. Slocum.
So weird.
Hey, they're getting the white guy. The straight-laced white
really
guy that I predicted that they would.
He even has the southern drawl. I mean, like, it really, I didn't thought about that.
He's got the annoying southern drawl.
A little prophetic from you.
I'm under the impression that his ex-wife is going around Tallahassee.
There's got to be something.
Having sex with everything that walks. That's why he wants to leave.
Like she's just making life miserable for him.
She's basically being Greg Marshall's wife right now.
If she's that crazy, she'll just move to College Station.
God, I hope that happens. That'd be hilarious.
Here's the thing that I don't get about Jimbo Fisher. Like, he's recruited really well. And they sucked because they lost a quarterback.
I think that there was I can't say I watched a whole lot of Florida State, but there were a couple games specifically, like I think that Boston College game, it was on a Thursday night. They got down 14-0 and just absolutely quit.
Just quit.
Yeah, I mean,
remember they did that to Louisville last year.
You see that out of Florida teams a lot, I feel like. If they get down early, it's like the Miami team.
Because they're used to playing basketball on grass down there.
Yeah. That's true.
I think they just get run. Like, a lot of those kids are used to growing up, and some days their teams just get run out of a building.
And it happens.
Yeah. It's a mentality. I don't know.
The coaching carousel, I can't remember it being as crazy as it has been. And maybe it's just because of social media. I feel like we're very connected to everything.
I got to say this. I got a lot of respect for Tennessee for shooting their shot.
Just because they have no shame?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes that works.
Sounds like they're pretty close to getting Jeff Brom from Purdue. Which
that wouldn't be a terrible hire.
Your boy go home and coach Purdue for a couple years, get based again, get his feet back underneath him?
I don't know. I don't know how he'd feel about that. He'd always told me in the past,
I think he can get a better job.
Going home is overrated.
Yeah. I think he can get a much better job than Purdue.
I told him to buy an island.
He can. He has plenty of money, or he's going to have plenty of money in 60 days. What an awesome contract that was for Kevin Sumlin.
And what if ASU hires Herm Edwards?
Just might as well just bar the Arizona State from
You don't think there's any chance that Herm Edwards could have success?
No.
I mean, if he's going to keep the entire Todd Graham staff,
that
just signals I have no idea what I'm doing.
That will not work out well. I feel bad for people that are at Arizona State right now.
He has no idea how to put together a college staff.
Absolutely.
He's that far removed from football.
Has he ever coached college? I really don't know.
I don't know.
I have no idea.
Wiki is your friend. Go look it up. Okay, so one thing Lincoln Riley did talk about this week I want to get into specifically with you, Josh. December 20 through the 22nd. That's when the early signing period is coming up. Of course, Oklahoma. I know there was the Thibodeau stuff that was out there a little bit. Have any coaches gone out on the road, Josh? Any assists? I guess if somebody was going to go out, Thibodeau would be fine because you got 2 defensive line coaches.
Yeah, Thibodeau's the only one that went out. I was told when he went and saw Ronnie Perkins on Sunday night and Trey Brown the same night, that was going to be the only time OU hit the road until after TCU. They don't want there to be any doubt about focus or anything, and he was literally on the road probably for 12 hours and then came back, and they've just gotten right back into game week prep. But yeah, speaking of those 2 visits, I mean, obviously with Ronnie Perkins, everybody kind of maybe thought, oh, that's kind of strange. Texas is still pushing Ronnie Perkins really, really hard. So Oklahoma's going to have to continue to recruit him. really probably all the way until February because, I've said it on the podcast, and I know people have read some of his coach's comments on Twitter. His coach is adamantly against the early signing period.
Yeah, I saw some of that.
It's not a deal where he's going to tell Ronnie, you can't do this. It's not that kind of thing. It's just he strongly advises against it, and he's a guy that has done a lot for Ronnie, and Ronnie trusts him. So I think he's a high school coach that's involved with Ronnie every day. I think he's legitimately doing it because he thinks it's in the kid's best interest. I've got no problem with that. I know people would expect me to get up in arms. There's nothing bad about this. This is just a coach that doesn't feel that that's the best thing for his kid. So and it's not just Ronnie. It's any kid that he coaches. He doesn't want them to sign early. So I think OU's just going to have to work there. With Trey Brown, obviously, it came right on the heels. I mean, Oklahoma, I haven't verified yet whether Oklahoma had this scheduled even before Kevin Sumlin was fired, but man, the timing of that worked out nicely. I'm sure the Brown family doesn't see it that way, or the Sumlin family, more to the point. Yeah.
You heartless bastards!
Sumlin gets fired, and within about 6 hours, Calvin Thibodeau's in home with he and his mother and some of his teammates. I'm told it went well. I don't think that really I don't expect Trey to do anything even just to go to as far as decommit at this point until he knows what's going to happen with their defensive line coach, Terry Price. When that gets settled, if Price stays, I don't think OU has any chance to flip Brown. If he is dismissed and Jimbo Fisher or whoever brings in their own defensive line coach, then I think OU has a chance. But, it's going to be very interesting because obviously A&M will immediately try to bring him back into the fold with whatever D-line coach is there. And obviously Alabama is also heavily involved. So there's a lot that could go on there. But the first domino that has to fall, in my opinion, for Oklahoma to have a chance is for Terry Price not to be part of that Aggie staff going forward.
You know what? One thing about Kevin Sumlin is he had great coaching contacts and he hired really good people. So I would think Jimbo Fisher will look at keeping a lot of those guys on.
Oh,
of course, you have Chavis. If you have Chavis as your defensive coordinator, who wouldn't want him to stay?
You'd have to think. And Jimbo and Chavis have the whole LSU connect. You would assume there's some intermingling lines there where they can kind of get on the same page pretty quickly. I would be shocked if he got rid of Chavis. Who's just flat out one of the best defensive coordinators in college football.
Yeah, the thing you have to worry about is does Chavis get an offer somewhere else?
Sure,
he can't turn down before he can.
And people could say, you look at what he has done in that defense in just a couple of years. A&M was atrocious defensively just a few years ago. And while they're not the cream of the crop, they are so much better tackling in space. You take that UCLA game out, and you saw a lot of really good. They fought Alabama hard. They just didn't have any offense that night.
I want to talk a little bit more about the early signing day. Here's Lincoln Riley. He was asked about it at a press conference on Monday.
I think we'll sign quite a few. I don't know if I like it yet or not. Ask me in a few months. It's nobody really knows what's going to happen. Honestly, there's a lot of guesses out there, but are 20% of the players going to sign, or 75% of the players going to sign? How do you handle the ones that don't sign? There's, you're having to make decisions even now on if a guy maybe academically is close. You don't have nearly as much info as you normally would when you sign him in February. So do you sign him now or wait? There's going to be some trial and error with it, and we're trying to think of everything we can and prepare as much as we can. But it'll be a little bit of a moving target for a couple of years, and I doubt we'll actually have a real sense of is it positive for the game or negative until we get through a couple of them.
Josh, what do you think worst case scenario is? What's the biggest problem you see in early signing period that it could create for coaches, and not just coaches getting fired between when they sign and when they start playing, but just for schools individually? What do you think some of the hang-ups could be, or the things that could really hurt programs, even programs that are in good shape?
Well, and as we've covered, and this is going to happen because I'm almost certain I know what quote you used for Lincoln, but I assume it's him talking about for those that haven't heard the lead up to this, I can't hear the audio for some reason in this pod. I assume it was him talking about not having all the answered with grades and some of those problems.
Yeah.
So that's an obvious one. And, for those that don't understand, obviously in December, guys will take their finals, they'll go through things, and then Oklahoma will be able in February to know how they finished out their first semester of their senior year. And then you can get a pretty good projection on how likely that guy is to actually academically qualify when you have that in his ACT or his SAT or whatever he took. So you can kind of gauge it that way. But also, you get into a situation where you have so many times where guys, a great example, and it's one I bring up a lot, and it goes back a little ways, is Jeremy Beal. Guy went on to be an all Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, and in October of his senior year, he was not a big recruit. He was not a well-known guy, and then really started to put together a big senior year, and everybody started to take notice. And this is a guy in North Dallas. There was tons of, guys like me going around high school football games, and it was very late in the game when people started to take notice of him. So I think it also makes it harder for you to project guys, maybe really see that senior tape that you want to see. You've really got to go off 3 or 4 weeks and then start making some decisions. I think where it also gets tricky is, say, we'll look at Oklahoma's situation right now at safety, where they've got guys like Josh Proctor, Jaden Woodby, and God, I'm going to forget somebody real obvious there. Who am I leaving out? There's somebody. Anyway, we'll go with Josh Proctor and Jaden Woodby because my mind is apparently getting a little foggy. But you get into those guys, and then you have a guy like C.J. Smith in Florida who's already taken his official visit, listed Oklahoma in his top 3, I think along with Missouri and Florida, which Missouri in the state of Florida is not going to win a recruiting battle against Oklahoma. Florida is replacing their head coach, and at the time he made that list, I'm not sure that Dan Mullen had even been announced as the new head coach. So Leon O'Neal along with Josh Proctor and Jaden Woodby. So you've got those 3 guys. Well, do you go after C.J. Smith, who you probably could get to sign on December 20th, or do you hold off on him, let Missouri and Florida kind of start to continue to recruit him, make it known to him that he's a priority, and then stand the risk of losing out on Leon O'Neal, Josh Proctor, and Jaden Woodby? That's kind of the danger, the danger zone, and even the possibility that C.J. Smith decides to sign with Florida or Missouri, because then you don't even have the chance to try to make the comeback. It's over. So I think that's where you run the risk, and it's not that there is a right answer to it. You've got to figure it out, and it's all going to be, from year to year, it's going to be different because your numbers are going to be different. The schools you're recruiting against are going to be different. Kids are going to feel differently. There are just so many moving pieces to this right now that I don't think I think it would be foolish to come up with a hard and fast plan, because it's going to there's too many things you don't know yet. And so I think that I think they're doing a good job. They're just trying to get the guys in that they know they want to take. They're not going to push guys that are a little fringy for them, those kind of deals. So I think that's going to be the biggest deal, is just trying to make the numbers fit and making sure, okay, we've locked down the guys that we feel good about, and we're going to kind of see what happens with the rest, and making sure you don't overplay your hand.
I thought I was going to be a big fan of it. The closer it gets, I don't know if the early signing period is going to go as smoothly as everybody thought it was going to.
Okay, so
Traitor, Eddie. Traitor.
I still think they need something early, but I don't know.
But here's what's great about it. Like, Ohio State is going to be able to finally say, Josh Proctor, are you in or you out? You going to sign with us on December 20th?
He's already said he's not going to.
But that's the thing. It's like, why wouldn't he sign if he's been committed to them for as long as he has?
Yeah.
Then Ohio State kind of knows where they stand.
Yeah.
If I'm Ohio State, it's ridiculous for you.
It's almost like a big red flag.
If you're Ohio State, you have to say, look, why aren't you signing with us? Like, why? What if you've been committed to us for so long? What's wrong with signing? It really is. It's like it's like committing in a relationship.
Yeah.
It's like, look, are we going to be exclusive, or are we still seeing other people?
The cliche shit off or get off the pot.
Yeah. And the same thing with Woodby.
Yeah. Are there any, and I guess, are there any guys like that for Oklahoma, Josh, that they're going to not necessarily put their hands to the fire, but I guess it is kind of.
Everybody's feet are to the fire on this thing. If you're committed and you don't sign, you're not really committed.
Yeah. Okay.
Jalen Robinson has told me he will not sign. The 4-star receiver from Fort Worth. Oh God, I've literally been to his game. It's amazing that I can't remember that. All Saints. God, sorry, small private school. He has told me he will not sign. Now that was as of about 2 weeks ago, kind of before OU really started all that momentum with everybody announcing, "Hey, I'm signing." What's interesting is there were about 7 or 8 guys that did that. And then you've heard very little since then.
Yeah, there wasn't a big.
Yeah, so it wasn't like everybody's all on board. So I would guess there's a few that won't sign. And
I would say
I'm not singling out Jalen, but it's kind of what I just said. Be careful. It goes the other way for players too. Don't overplay your hand. Don't think don't get me wrong. If, let's say, TJ Pledger wants to wait, and TJ Pledger's going to enroll early, so it's a bad example. But just Bray Walker, there's a perfect example.
Yeah.
Bray Walker wants to wait. There is not a damn thing you can do about it. They're going to have to wait. You can't replace Bray Walker. Guys like that don't just. Jalen Redmond, he's going to enroll early, but if he wasn't, you're just going to have to deal with it. But there are some guys in this class, and you need to be real careful because I may think you're a good player, but that doesn't mean there's not 10 more that would be happy to come to a place like Oklahoma right now.
Or that maybe as well as things are going for us, maybe we want to chase somebody better than you.
Oh, exactly. I mean, hell, guys, we've talked about it. I mentioned the safety situation a little bit. There's a lot of rumors right now with Deontay Anderson, the Ole Miss transfer in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And, so that's one of those things, too, where OU's not only having to weigh recruiting, they're having to weigh this guy that's telling a lot of people that OU is his first choice, and he's a former Rivals 100 safety from the Houston area, a major program in Manville. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff in play right now, and don't think for a second Deontay Anderson's the only one. OU probably is more active in the transfer market than any major program in the country.
And that's the other thing, kind of what I alluded to. It gives coaches a chance. Like, let's say they've had a kid. Like now, OU's got, 3 2020 commitments? Is it 3 now with Rain?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
They got 3 20. So these kids are going to play 2 more years in high school. Let's say they get down to an early signing day, and maybe one of these kids is, had some injuries or he hasn't played all that well, but you don't want to be like a dick and not, cut him loose and stuff like that.
Son, you done got sucked.
I mean,
you're not good anymore.
So, I mean, it gives them a chance. It gives them an out, really, to say, look, if you don't want to sign with us early, we're going to move on.
Yeah.
Which is, and you can tell their coach, look, we've been playing on him for 2 years. He's saying he doesn't want to sign on signing day. We either need him to sign or we're going to move on to something else. So it does kind of give you a fake but a nice guy way, a fake nice guy way to maybe
cut
get out of
loose.
Yeah, cut somebody loose if you really don't feel like they've lived up to their potential.
It will get interesting. Has the coaching process of firing and hiring been sped up because of the early signing period, do you think? Like, are schools trying to scramble to get head coaches in place early? I mean, we're less than 20 days, aren't we? Or no, I guess a month.
21 days.
29th, yeah.
Oh, I mean, I think definitely. I mean, I've never seen it like this before.
It's crazy.
Where somebody gets fired 3 days later.
And I said that Tennessee was close to getting Jeff Brom. It has just been reported that they are nowhere close to getting. John Curry is putting
Arkansas
on a
is really
display.
screwed right now too because they have no AD.
Yeah, they don't have it's not good when you've hired 2 search firms, which search firm season is the best season because I still don't know what they do.
They get a lot of money for
nothing,
giving you a list that a lot of other people could give you.
Yeah, that anybody in this podcast could have been like, hey, yeah, Jeff Brom's a good candidate. Oh, okay, thanks, man. We needed to know that. I get it when they use them for vetting, but other than that, I don't understand.
You guys want to go over some voicemails?
Sure.
We've put out.
I will say, while you're getting the voicemails ready, I was down on the sidelines on Saturday before the game. Just like the presence that Bray Walker and Darrell Simpson walk around with down there, it's like, oh my God, who are these 2 people? Like, for the people that don't know, they walked by me, and I turned to the guy I was talking to next to me. He was like, Jesus, who were those two guys? And I was like, they're seniors in high school. And he was like, that's unbelievable. I don't believe you.
Yeah, Bray Walker is massive.
Like, they can be.
I don't believe you.
They can be seen from anywhere.
I don't believe you. So, voicemails, we've had quite a few. Some good, some triggered. Little this, little that. We'll start out with Eddie's favorite, Gene from Sayre.
Ooh, we got a return phone call.
Return.
Hey, Eddie, it's Gene down here from Sayre again, and I just wanted to tell you that Tommy Tuberville is a flat-running moron. Him not ranking OU in the top 4 is like ranking Luke Bryan above Waylon Jennings. I mean, it's just bullshit. And to be honest, hell, if I was that damn assistant coach down there at Tech, he slapped them headphones off my head, I'd have whooped his Ernest P. World-looking ass right there on the spot for the country to see. But Tommy Tuberville, I mean, the truth of the matter, he ought to just go down to hell and work for the devil.
I completely forgot about
Him
the
slapped
dumb
his
f***ing idiot that is Tommy Tuberville. I completely forgot that he said the shit that he said earlier this week. That enraged me more than I think I've been enraged in a while.
What, just the stuff about ranking the top 4 teams?
Just when he talks. I've gotten to the point I can't listen to the man talk.
He sounds like a hayseed.
I hate him. I hate Tommy Tuberville.
We had a call from a guy who I think was trying to make a character or something, and he got to where he was trying to give his location, and he just blanked. I'm going to play this for you.
Hi, yeah, this is Kyle here on the northwest side of...
Get it together, Kyle.
I got to play that again.
Hi, yeah, this is Kyle here on the northwest side of...
He never called back either. Like, I was expecting.
That was it?
Yeah, I was expecting. He quit. He's like, I can't do this.
If you're gonna call into the hotline, you gotta have it all together.
Have it written down or something. Have it jotted if you're going to go character. Go skit with it. I should tell you, and Carrie, you and I have talked off air about this. Everybody that listens, obviously, I laugh a lot on the podcast. I think it's kind of become one of my call signs. But I have a buddy that is literally working on going through all of our old podcasts and collecting all of my laughs into like a singular track.
Oh no,
that is awesome.
Bad.
It's going to be so bad because my laugh is horrible to begin with. So it's going to be pretty great.
You don't usually like listening to yourself talk or laugh.
No. Mm-mm.
You mentioned if you got a bit or a character, write it down. And I can tell that this guy just really wanted to display his Bob Stoops impersonation for us.
Hey, guys, enjoy the pod. This is Bob from Norman. Anyway, just wanted to talk about the fact that Oklahoma, I'm not sure you guys may be aware, but Oklahoma has a big-time championship tradition. They've won 10 Big 12 championships. TCU, by the way, hasn't won any. But that's neither here nor there. But I think the key to the game this weekend is going to be Baker Mayfield. I think he's going to grab one of those Big 12 trophies this week instead of his man regions. So in the end, I think it's going to be a victorious game for the Sooners. And okay.
One listen, everybody knows the rules. What's your Bob Stoops impersonation score there from 1 to 10?
2.5. But I will say, I thought it was, the voice wasn't good, but I thought that the words,
the inflection, he was dead on.
Those were pretty dead on things that he would say. And sidebar, if Bob wants to ever call, we will make room and time for him.
Yeah, we definitely will.
I'd give it like a 4, but I dead agree with both of you. The tone wasn't any good, the voice itself, but like the message and the way he put his words together, very Bob-like.
That would have,
that was good.
If we could transcribe it,
did he get it in the end in there?
I don't know if he had the in the end, but if we could transcribe it,
it would look just like
that would be
Bob.
like, yeah, Bob said that.
Yeah, if we transcribed it and I read it, it would be a lot better.
Do we have a Lincoln impersonator yet? Like, I mean,
No, and I've been thinking a lot about
like
it.
that?
I've been thinking a lot about it.
I don't think, does he have phrases like that yet that are just like synonymous with Lincoln
He's
yet?
more of the way he starts and finishes sentences.
Okay.
Like, he doesn't really have phrases that he uses a lot.
I think when he tries to, like when somebody asks a good question, he'll like bring out yeah, and he'll kind of, that's like it's kind of like the thing, like when somebody asks you something and you don't really know the answer on top of your head, you're like, oh, that's a good question, to give yourself time to think about it. Or at least that's what I do.
No,
I'm outing myself all day.
Eddie, and I feel like he said that's a good question more times this year than Bob probably said in his entire career.
Oh, there's no doubt. Doubt.
Do you guys kind of feel like Lincoln genuinely means it some of the time?
No, I think that he does.
When he says it, I think he does, yeah.
I do. I do
or it's
too.
a question that he
it
hasn't
comes across
thought
as
about.
genuine.
Yeah, it's something he hasn't thought about usually, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm just going to give people a little advice. Don't give yourself a nickname that has to do with bodily functions. It's just not cute. So here's this guy.
Hey, man, this is your buddy old Firecracker Farts here, man, calling out of Arkansas. I just wanted to make it known that something we should all be talking about is this coaching carousel and whatnot, and just praise Bobby Stoops, man, for stepping aside and letting that young gun Lincoln Riley come back, and we're better off for him. And as far as this rematch with TCU goes, to hell with them sons of bitches. I tell you what, man, I'll hit them so hard like a Freightliner come on. And you guys just keep on keeping on. Josh, good luck with the kiddo coming on. I know you got another rugrat. Man, you're going to have some estrogen in that household, boy. Eddie, keep it real, man. Whenever my nephew teaches me how to tweeter, I'm going to get on there. I heard you as a rock star on the tweeter. And Carrie, man, teach that boy Eddie how to eat some good food, man. I tell you, you ought to take him down to the Iron Skillet over there at Truck Stops of America and get him one of them good 24-hour breakfasts come back. Y'all have a good one now. Scoops.
Okay, so Eddie and I both agree that we don't think that's a bit. We think that's genuinely a guy.
I hope so, at least. And I
like
will
he's
go,
a trucker.
I will go to the skillet place with you.
I was fixing to say, was he? I felt very Tommy Boy. Are you calling from a walkie-talkie?
I think he's a trucker.
Maybe.
I hope we are number one in the trucking podcast demographic.
The Oklahoma
I hope you get lit up on meth and listen to us.
We should maybe. I've been thinking lately like merchandising ideas since we're trying to, raise money for Bob so we can afford him.
Seriously, people listening, guys, if you want Bob to stay with us, sign up. We need you in.
Which, by the way, the $99 promotion, it's over now by the time you're listening to this, but man, that was bonkers. One of the best promotions we've ever run. And I'm sure a lot of it had to do with Bob being on board now.
Sure.
But, I can't thank you guys enough for signing up. And we still need more, so tell your friends.
Tell your friends, tell your family.
But maybe we should get mud flaps.
Tell your ex-wife.
Maybe we should have Sooner Scoop mud flaps.
Oh, to put on trucks. I thought you were talking about something else.
If we're really, have to go to Urban Dictionary now?
I don't know if you want to.
Does that have to do with women in their...
I would, yeah.
Yeah, I can kind of see where that might lead us. Okay. So, yeah, I think it was genuine. I don't think that was a bit.
That was good. We appreciate the call.
This is more of a bit.
This is Connor in Norman. All I want to say is Kirby Hocutt is a f***ing beta male. That is all.
That guy kind of sounds like Tex. Like Big Tex from Barstool.
Oh. Not my favorite person in the world.
It is kind
Connor.
of a weird
I'll be
dude.
a Connor's fan. That was a good call, though. I completely agree. I think Kirby Hocutt is a beta male.
This one was very weird.
Gary Patterson likes it when his fingers rip through the toilet paper.
That was it. That wasn't like me cutting out a before after. That was the entire voicemail. I'll play it one more time for you.
Gary Patterson likes it when his fingers rip through the toilet paper.
I'm really sad that guy didn't leave a name and location because that might have been our first great call. That was pretty stellar.
There were a lot of, and I like the hit and run. If you want, I mean, that's probably my favorite because look, I don't want to upset anybody. We appreciate everybody that calls into the hotline, but we're not playing 3-minute opinions about, what's going on. It's just not going to happen.
That's what they have me for.
Yeah, we got to talk too. Like,
leave those messages on the board and we'll talk about them.
You can get a podcast if you want to talk for 3 straight minutes. I'm just saying, brevity is your friend. I said that last time. Brevity like this.
Yeah, this is Donald from Broken Arrow. FO Couch on Twitter. And, Kerry, mark the time. You, Joey Galloway.
And that's it. Short and sweet.
JoJo hasn't been too bad the last couple weeks. I can't say that I watched college football final on
apparently
Saturday.
He said some stupid stuff last night.
Oh, did he? During the playoff committee?
Well, I think he said that TCU dominated or figured out OU's offense in the second half.
The only person, we talked about it earlier in the pod, the only person that would say something like that is somebody that didn't watch the game. So that kind of makes sense with
and we've already covered it in the podcast, exactly what happened in the second half.
That would make sense, though, coming from somebody that I can almost guarantee you didn't watch the second half of the OU-TCU game when the halftime score was 38-14. There is no way that he watched that game.
No. I mean, but why would you if it was 38-14? He's just repeating.
The only reason I did is because I was there and
you were there.
Because whatever he is, Joey Galloway knows football. Like, I mean, he may not know it to the level that he probably should for his chosen career, but like he knows he can watch a football game and know who had the better of it. And there's no way he watched the second half and thought, boy, OU's really laying it all out there, and it's just not coming away for them. Like, they're just not getting that going. No. You could say that in the first half against Ohio State when OU just kept shooting themselves in the foot. Like, oh, okay, OU had it going, but they didn't get anything done there. But that's just he knows better. He clearly didn't watch. Yeah. I think Eddie's exactly right.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the Gary Patterson Baker Mayfield thing. The by the way, did we talk about how? I don't understand how that Baker Mayfield ear-holing thing didn't result in a brawl. Like, how did that not turn into something? With him standing there clapping the way that he did
I was standing there and didn't realize it happened until somebody reached out on Twitter.
Do you think everybody else just didn't know what happened? The only thing I could think of is maybe that Nico Small kid thought it was a punt that hit him in the head.
No, I think that very much so, that it was just a... Because people get hit all the time down there. There were balls literally flying everywhere during our pregame.
They're just used to getting hit in the head by stuff.
I wouldn't say like that, like he was. But you definitely have to keep your head on a swivel or you will get hit.
Yeah. So he's probably just used to that kind of... But the thing
concussed.
The thing is, now all this stuff came out. I think you said the guy deleted...
Yeah.
The video that he put out there?
Yeah, he did.
So people can't even watch it now?
He did, because because I was initially tagged in the tweet. I was getting these tweets yesterday from ESPN Assignment Desk, Fox Assignment Desk.
Because he had responded to you. He didn't just put it out on his own.
Right.
He saw your video of Baker clapping, and you said this was right after he threw a football at somebody's head.
Well, somebody one of the first responses was, "Did you see what happened before that?" I was like, "No, I have no idea what happened." And then somebody said, somebody said, oh, he nailed a dude in the head before. I thought it was hilarious. I still think it's hilarious. And then the Carter kid came in, and he's the one that initially tweeted it, and which is insane kind of in a way, because I don't know who takes video of Baker Mayfield just
from that high up.
Yeah. Like it just happened to get it.
If there's 80,000 people in the stadium, somebody's going to be just.
It's kind of like the JT Barrett thing. Somebody got him getting injured on the sidelines up in Ann Arbor.
Somebody did?
Video.
I didn't see.
Well, it's very like he's just videotaping the stadium, like going back and forth.
Okay, I did see this. And then you see him hobbling.
Yeah, you never actually see what happens.
They're like slowing it down, trying to say, okay, can you see this person?
Right, which is just like, I've never been to Ann Arbor, so I don't know how, like, there are stadiums, and Norman's one of them, that the sidelines are very bad. Like not very bad. Very small.
Yeah.
Like the players actually warm up before the game on the field. They don't have any room.
Yeah.
behind the benches. So I can see how it happened. I think it's kind of a conspiracy. It seems like an Urban Meyer type deal. So I don't know. It's kind of funny in a way.
By the way, the hotline number if you want to leave a message. It's 405-928-1725. It's 405-928-1725. Well, here's my point, because we're going to get there as early as we can. Is there going to be a fight before the game?
I don't think so. Well, I say that. I don't think that there will be a brawl, because Gary Patterson's teams, they don't get in fights in games, I guess. They're
perfect. They're angels.
They're the perfect small private Christian school that you want them to be. So that I don't think that ever happens.
Not like that team down south that he always talks about.
Yeah, yeah. Gary Patterson, and I'll say it again. I think some of the actions that he's taken are kind of bitchy, but I like him. I think
I like him too.
I think it's good for college football to have this type of back and forth. I guess it's better than OU playing. Sorry, Iowa State. It's better than OU playing Iowa State in a game that I think OU probably would have won by 3 touchdowns.
It was kind of interesting this week because, Drew Samia got kicked out of the game. He's not out. He'll be back for this one.
Do you have the Beat 'em Bo audio?
I don't.
Because he had a great, I guess,
he said,
answer.
I saw what happened to him, and I can't blame the guy for doing what he did.
I mean,
but we can't do that.
We're all under the understanding that he got spit in the face. Is that?
I think so.
Is that the? Because they didn't want to. They clearly didn't want to come out and say anything. But if you read between the lines, I think that with all the, I don't know if it's reports on Twitter, but people have said that they thought he got spit in the face.
I don't see what else it could be unless he was sticking his finger in his eye.
Yeah, or like grabbing his man region or something.
Yeah,
I really don't know.
Well, his mom tweeted out after the game that that's what happened.
Oh, okay. I
she
didn't
said
even
something
see that.
along those lines, like he'd been spit on or something. So, yeah. So I made a lot of people happy during the game on that particular topic. So we'll avoid that so the podcast doesn't get sullied as well.
What did you say, that it didn't happen?
No. I didn't say that didn't happen. I said it was something that OU couldn't afford to do. Like that.
Yeah.
I get that West Virginia. Every year, the OU gets into this crap, and it always happens. West Virginia had nothing to lose by getting in there and getting into fights and starting all kinds of crapping. But, like, OU, as soon as they stopped responding to that, it was from that point on. Baker kind of grabbed everybody and said, stop, just knock it off, quit worrying about that stuff. And from that point on, OU just ran away from West Virginia. But as long as West Virginia could keep them doing that crap, they weren't as sharp. And then once they stopped, it was fine. And everybody's like, well, he's got a right to retaliate. No, he doesn't. That's why he got ejected. You don't get to do that. That, and you have something to lose. You have something to play for. And so that it's not that I don't understand. I understand the emotion of it. I get all that. But why OU that if this team has any one weakness, it's to fall into that kind of crap.
Yeah.
They can get real chippy and get themselves in trouble.
But it's also,
that doesn't matter.
It's also why they're good, though, too.
It's true. No.
You can't have one without the other.
Point. Yep, you're right.
And it's just like with Baker. It's like you don't have one without the other, but you also have to know where the line is.
Yep.
But every once in a while, you do overstep the line because you're living in that, you're straddling that fence the entire time.
Oh, yeah. When you live in the gray, I mean, sooner or later, you're going to go too far. I mean, that's just the way that goes.
Just based off of...
By the way, smiles and cries, Josh, really?
Smiles and cries.
I didn't even say anything about that headline, but that was the worst.
Oh, don't even. You loved it.
From training day?
Yes.
I thought that was a stupid line even in training day. You manage your smiles and cries like it made no sense.
Oh, that's not true. Miller, he was talking about it. Not that quote or anything, but he was talking about somebody being all smiles or something, and that's why I went with it.
Training Day is a great movie.
It is a great movie, but that line, it's kind of like, Dad, you want to have a catch at the end of Field of Dreams. It's like, it's just not normal English.
If Denzel Washington told me to smoke PCP, I would.
Any dissing of father-son playing catch.
Dad, do you want to have... No son has...
can't cross.
No son has ever said, Dad, do you want to have a catch? Not the planet I live on.
Well, you're not from Iowa, so you wouldn't understand.
People from Iowa are stupid then. Have a catch. Nobody says that.
He doesn't mean that, Carol.
You play catch. Yeah, I guess I just ripped on Bob and Carol. But I guarantee you Bob doesn't say, if we asked Bob and we said, have you ever gone to your son and said, do you want to have a catch? No, you say, let's go play catch.
Well, he's not from Iowa either. But I'm sure he's from
Ohio. Yeah,
he's
from Ohio. Carol is, though. So I just,
Carol probably played catch with her softball with her dad. She had a catch.
Cry on another vacation if she wants to.
I'll console.
Okay, this is what I was trying to get to, is Lincoln Riley talking about all the physical crap that's been going on.
I think it's something that I think we got to look at. I do. Joe and I had a conversation about this. Won't reveal the details of it, but I do think that we got to make sure that we're sending a strong enough message as far as the penalties to help reduce it. I mean, look what they've done with targeting. And again, there's, as you guys know, there's plenty of that I don't agree with, but the penalty is so severe. You don't see it happening very much as far as just an outright blatant intentional. I mean, I would venture to say, and this is, maybe off the top of my head a little bit, but I bet 75% or more of the targeting calls this year are in some ways inadvertent. There's not nearly as many malicious ones as you used to see because the penalty is so severe. I think it's something we got to look at, because it's not good for the game. At the end of the day, playing on an edge, all the physicality is one of the best things about football. But the fights, guys leaving the bench, our guy taking a swing the other day, our guy did it too. It's definitely not good for the game.
So it is. I don't know, Eddie. Do you think that it's more out of control than it's ever been? You're down there on the field.
No, I definitely think it is, and it's trivial shit. Like, I don't know if it's trivial, but it's guys getting in the face of each other, talking shit
all the time
after every play.
Yeah, the time.
And then one guy pushes one guy, then another guy pushes the other guy, and like I almost, in a way, I hate sticking up for the referees, but they do a decent job of keeping everybody, from killing each other.
But I mean, when it's happening and you're playing KU, who's 1 in 10, that's a joke.
Yeah, it is. Well, and
the guy up dancing, and doing the na stuff, like after Drew Samia gets kicked out of the game, like that dude should be ejected right along with him. You're out too. No, you're being a jackass.
Lamar Jackson assaulted somebody on Saturday.
He just
like that was a straight up street fight.
Neither one of them threw any punches, though. They just rolled around on the ground like a couple of bitches.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. There was a swing, wasn't there?
Maybe.
But it's in every level of football. High school, you see it in high school, you see it in college.
Well, we started talking about...
It's even worse in the NFL. I mean, look at the Michael Crabtree incident over the
what
weekend.
A disaster.
It's just like, they should suspend both of those guys
for 5
games.
That was literally... that was just a level below the Malice in the Palace.
Yeah. It was if
it would have spilt into the stands, it would have been the same thing.
If it would have spilled into the fans, somebody would have got stabbed with that fan base. Somebody would have probably been injured severely.
But Josh, it's like we talked about it. I've noticed this like 3 years ago. It's like when rivals would go down to Florida and they would have the one-on-ones like at rivals camps. Like those kids stand right up to each other, press coverage, and as soon as they come off the line, the other kid literally starts punching the other kid now. Slaps to the face, like open hand slaps.
You've always talked about that, the Florida 7-on-7 or the Florida 1-on-1s from the rivals camp.
Yeah,
those guys literally, that's a street brawl.
It literally is a fight as soon as the ball is snapped. It's gotten out of control.
And I'll talk to Rob Cassidy, our Florida guy. And he was like, you can always tell when a guy has been to Florida camps before and when he hasn't. Because he goes, it could be the best wide receiver in the country, a guy that legitimately is a great player. He'll come down here, and you'll see him after about 5 reps, he just starts moving toward the back of the line. Like, you don't see him coming up anymore because these guys, it's just crazy down there. And you'll see it, Eddie and I, when we went to the 5-star in Indianapolis, and Eddie, or Kerry, I know you've been to a bunch of them through the years. you can see it with some of those guys. Like, they're just wired different, and it is. But, yeah, I think what you're talking about, I think there's all this extra stuff, and I think for so long, like, you talked about the guy waving, nana or whatever. I don't give a crap about that. That's trash talk. I got no problem with any of that. But, like, the stuff after the whistle when guys are going to get hurt and those kind of things, I got no use for that. That's just, if you'll just start ejecting guys as soon as you see that, like, you're gone, that stuff will stop. It'll stop fast.
Yeah.
But referees, like Eddie said, it's a tough job because you're trying to catch the right guy, and almost always you're going to see the second guy.
They're going to have to come up with some type of an NBA flagrant 1, flagrant 2 thing, to where you start keeping track, and maybe even a technical foul system like the NFL.
You do that, and it's
the
a
NBA
slippery slope, because I just praised the referees for how they've handled it. That will get out of control. It's because the NBA flagrant
But let's say,
stuff has gotten out of control.
You get Orlando Brown, and he's gotten 10 personal fouls throughout a season. You should have to sit out a game.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
and that's a very generous number. It probably should be like 7 or 5 even.
5 would probably be. 5 is enough.
I mean, if this continues, you're going to have to do something because it's out of control. And the problem is, OU's usually not the ones that are instigating this stuff. It's just like, Josh, the reason I'm so mad about that West Virginia guy celebrating is you're not celebrating a sack. You're not celebrating a tackle for a loss. You're not celebrating a turnover. You're celebrating the fact that you baited a guy into punching you so he would get kicked out of the game. That's not what should be celebrated. You're ruining the game.
Well, and don't get me wrong, I agree with that, but it's like what Eddie just said. Then you're starting to get into intent. And that's okay, so when, Baker Mayfield scores on a big play and he looks and he's doing the wave, and that kind of thing, is he celebrating the touchdown or is he taunting the TCU sideline? Like, I don't know. To me, you've got to draw the line somewhere. And I don't care about it if it doesn't hurt anyone. But if you're running the risk of people getting hurt because people are taking late shots or throwing punches,
I used to be a really big pussy named Josh.
Wow. I don't want guys to get hurt. Football's tough enough. You don't need to have stuff where a guy's going to take one in the knee after the whistle's blown. Like, it's tough enough to get through a whole game without being hurt. Without that kind of shit.
That second daughter and all her boyfriends really toughened me up.
I just think that there's been so many teams that have now, I guess, gotten their ass kicked by OU that they just want to take a shot at the OU players.
I don't get it.
Because I don't see this in other games around the country or around the conference.
I watch OSU as much as I can just because of my job. I don't see them getting into fights and people, wanting to fight them before games
And I will say,
like West Virginia, it was every other damn play.
But I will say that I'm sure the OU doesn't. They're not the.
They're no choir boys. Yeah,
they're not the good.
Exactly.
They're not the choir boys that I think everybody that wants to believe either. I mean, they're.
But like Kansas started it with the handshake.
Yeah.
Of course, Baker started by earholing a guy before the game even started.
I just
did
think
that against Kansas.
Well, no, but I mean against TCU he did.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean that's part of it too. Baker's reputation has become so big it's hard to gauge what's bigger for him, his kind of the ego or the football player. And I don't mean that as a diss to Baker. I just mean his reputation for, he's hot and he's going to talk trash, and the whole thing with, Eddie at the Baylor game and all that came from that. Like, I think guys are just, like, they respond to him before they've even hit the field. Like you're sitting there thinking about, there are people that are like, after a fight, they're like, man, I should have done this, or I would have said this to him. I think there's guys before the game with Baker, like, I'm going to tell him this. Like they're preparing statements about his girlfriend before they get out there.
It's almost like
I don't think that he has a girlfriend anymore.
Really?
Oh.
Breaking news.
That's all I'll
Just
say.
hasn't shown up on Instagram in a while?
Just some sleuth work. I've had some sources that have indicated to me that we might have a single man as he heads to the Heisman Trophy ceremony.
Wow. That's very interesting. I wonder. Surely Bob Stoops would go to the Heisman Trophy presentation.
I don't know. I've never been up there for that, but I've always heard that that room is really small and it's really selective on who they like actually let into the area.
But I mean, he's got a mom, a dad, a brother, a coach, and another coach.
Lincoln, his wife will be up there, I'm sure.
Surely they'll let Bob in.
I would think so. And it might be one of
Bob
those...
can't get invited, is what you're saying?
Oh, no, not at all. I don't know if he'd want to be up there. Because he's...
Oh, I bet he would.
You haven't seen him around very much. Or at least I haven't.
I saw him after he's been hanging out in the coach's box.
Yeah, I haven't seen him.
He's gotten comfortable enough to do that now.
I don't know. Maybe he'll probably already be recruiting for Tennessee by then.
Everyone on the board's wondering where the podcast is, and we're still recording. Which we're just about done. Which we are really done, I think. Big 12 championship coming up this weekend.
Better chance.
Anybody picking the upset? Anybody feeling the upset?
See,
it's a big game, so I have to do a staff pick.
I've been close to thinking that OU gets beat, but at the same time, I don't know. Maybe I've done it to myself again. Maybe I've bought in too much, but it feels like this team is on a roll and headed in the direction of possibly something special.
Well, your heart will be broken if this goes.
Well, I'll blame it on somebody else. It won't be
Baker's
I
ex.
need to figure out who I need to blame first.
I wonder if they broke up before the Kansas game, and that's where the crotch grabbing incident happened.
I don't know. Be interesting.
That's really awkward for us to talk about.
That was a weird, that whole sentence is weird, Carrie. I think you're going to wish you had that one back.
Yeah.
Lack of crotch grabbing.
There's a lot of things that I wish I could take back.
I mean, there's no way, right? There's no way they lose this weekend. I guess there is a way.
What are we going to do in L.A. if we go out there?
I don't know.
Besides eat In-N-Out.
Probably just...
Because In-N-Out is better.
In between...
It is better when you're in the home area.
Hang out with Blake at his house.
He's not going to be doing anything. Yeah, maybe we can hang out with him.
Go by the medicinal marijuana factory. I don't know. I've never really been to Los Angeles. I've been to... The only time I've been out to L.A. was for that Rivals camp when I interviewed Bryce Youngquist and Caleb Kelly. It was the first time I met Caleb Kelly. But I was up in more of the Anaheim area, so I've never really been to
L.A. proper.
Yeah,
Like
I've never
driving
been
by Dodger Stadium and stuff.
Never been to Chavez Ravine. Never been to any of that.
You've never been to
stuff.
Pasadena either.
No, I'd like to get out to Pasadena. I haven't done that. Every time I'm out there, I'm in Orange County.
The OC. Mm-hmm. We talked about this a little bit last night. 85% chance it's Los Angeles if they're in the playoffs. Is that probably pretty accurate?
Well, here's the thing. No matter who is number one in these four, or even Alabama or Ohio State,
everybody wants New Orleans.
Whoever's number one will get New Orleans because they get geographic proximity, whatever.
Right. Wisconsin would want to go to Pasadena.
Just because it's the Rose Bowl and that's Big Ten
Well,
thing.
but also because whoever they're playing is probably going to be geographically strong.
Yeah, but they're closer to New Orleans. So if they have
I know they are, but they're not. They're still the advantage for that. The difference in the two venues to them is much smaller than it will be to their opponent.
Yeah.
That's the only team I would think would flat out want to go to Pasadena.
Here's what I think probably best case scenario for OU. It's basically just what it is now, which is Clemson plays Wisconsin in the Sugar, and you go out to California to play Auburn. Because Auburn is not, their fan base is not Alabama's fan base. They're not even on Oklahoma's level.
As far as traveling?
Just as far as, depth of fan base, basically.
And honestly, I think Auburn's the last team you want to play right now.
I agree.
You've got to beat everybody, though. I mean, you might as well get it over, rip the Band-Aid off.
It just, I don't know. Jarrett Steedham would have a heyday with this defense, and they've played better, but at the same time, boy,
depends on if Kerryon Johnson's healthy or not.
Yeah,
that changes them totally offensively.
But I think almost a month, he'll be fine.
Miami's best wide receiver got carted off the practice field this morning.
Clemson's going to crush them, I believe.
I'd probably buy that.
If you guys,
their quarterback is not good.
I think obviously Wisconsin would be the matchup that you would feel most confident OU would move on to the finals from.
I don't know about that,
4.
Josh, because I mean they can run it, control the clock, take away possessions.
There's some truth. Yeah. I mean,
physically,
you're talking about 3 really good teams. I mean, they all are going to present problems.
Clemson might be the worst out of these 4.
See, that was going to be mine. I think Auburn is the last I would want to play. I think Clemson would be number 2 for me.
You're saying
I don't think Clemson's special.
Okay.
I think Clemson's getting by on a lot of.
So you're saying if you had choice of opponent, number of those 4, number 1 would be Clemson, or number 1 would be Wisconsin, number 2 be Clemson, number 3 would be Auburn.
Yep.
I'd take Clemson first, then Wisconsin, then Auburn.
Throw Alabama into that.
Oh, I'd put them first still.
See,
I'd put them between. I'd say this. Okay, Auburn, toughest.
Yep.
Second toughest, Alabama. Third, Wisconsin. 4, Clemson.
What if Miami?
I'd probably flip Alabama and Wisconsin. Ooh, I don't know. No, I wouldn't.
Because Alabama's got more talent.
Yeah, You're right. I like that better.
Plus, their linebackers are going to be healthy by then.
I'd flip Wisconsin and Clemson. I'm sorry. There we go.
Wisconsin's tougher, you think, to beat than Clemson?
Yeah. No. From your list, I would have Clemson ahead of Wisconsin. I think they have more athletes. It's the same deal. Wisconsin's really good defensively. I don't buy that with a month to get ready, anybody's keeping OU below 30 points. And while I think Wisconsin's great defensively, offensively, do I think they can score that much at that kind of speed? I don't know. I don't know that I buy that. And I kind of like Hornibrook. I think he's one of the better quarterbacks they've had in that whole run since Barry Alvarez got there. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't buy that their offense can keep pace.
I still don't think they're going to beat Ohio State this weekend.
I agree.
We'll know a lot. I mean,
the
Big Ten championship, if Ohio State beats them, then they're nothing. Because I don't think Ohio State's that good.
I'm here for the pissing match between Ohio State and Alabama.
I don't think anybody in the Big Ten is that good. Wisconsin's the only one that has a chance in my mind to be good. If they go out and whip Ohio State, then I'll say, okay, they're a good football team.
Agreed. I mean, because that's a good Ohio State team. It's not a special Ohio State team. It's not great.
What's the bitch fest going to be when it's between Ohio State and Alabama for the last spot?
I don't want to be there for it.
I kind of do. I want to just be collecting tears of everybody, because if you've noticed, like, if you stuck up for Alabama this week, you either work for the SEC network or you cover the SEC.
How many of those people on the committee sit there and say, well, you know what? We gave Ohio State the break last year, and they screwed us because they got beat 31-0.
Probably none of them, because they all have Alzheimer's.
That's not funny.
I think every person on that committee is an idiot.
I'm going to delete that last comment from Eddie.
I don't even know if that ranks in the top 10 for Eddie. And I say that as someone who's had family members with Alzheimer's.
Yeah, I have too.
My grandmother did.
Yeah.
Okay, well then I think that every person, you can keep this in there, every person on that committee is a fucking idiot.
Well, I can hit the mark
it.
I actually figured out how to hit the button to just mark things now.
Ooh,
nice.
I'm getting dumped on.
No, you're not getting dumped. I have marks where the F-bombs are.
Like, I don't understand how anybody in that committee, I would love to know their rationale on everything and how they've made Kirby Hocutt into their big bitch.
Their gimp. He's the gimp. Bring the gimp out.
Guys, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago.
I don't care anymore. I mean, if OU is in the top 4, that's all. You
get in, and it really doesn't matter.
You get your chance to beat them all.
That's true.
And, we talk about Auburn, but there's something to be said for Oklahoma just going out and taking care of whatever the SEC sent in the first game and being like, yep, and you're not even getting to the finals. Now, I don't know that they would, because like I said, I think Auburn's a monumental challenge the way they're playing right now.
Of course, if they don't go out and kill Georgia again, we could probably sit and say that was a fluke game. But Georgia's quarterback just isn't. I mean, Jake's Fromm, he's just not very good.
I think that's gonna be a pretty good game.
At least not yet. He's just a baby. He's not ready.
It's gonna be a good game, right? SEC. I think every every conference championship is gonna be pretty tight.
Yeah, should be.
It should be a good weekend of football. You're right. USC Stanford should be interesting. I mean, there's a lot of
Friday
good games
night,
because finally Stanford has settled on KJ Costello, and all of a sudden they started winning games. It's not a coincidence.
Yeah,
I don't know what they were doing the first half of the season.
I think it's going to be a dogfight, but I think Oklahoma wins. I think it'll be a much closer game than what we saw in Norman.
Yeah, I think it'll.
30,
I definitely think it'll feel closer.
No, I think it'll be lower scoring. I mean, I think they might hold OU to 28. You say no?
No, I don't think so. I just don't. Guys, and I can't remember who was it that called the game last week, the West Virginia game. Was it? No, it wasn't Klatt.
It was Greasy
yeah, Greasy, and he was talking, and he brought up a great. It was just one random play, but it's what Oklahoma is offensively right now with Baker doing what he can do and running the ball. Dimitri Flowers and his ability, the running game with Rodney Anderson, guys like Cedarian Lamb and Marquise Brown outside. There are plays that you can play perfectly, and OU's still going to beat you. Like there's just nothing. They're giving you too much to look at, and they've got too many athletes that are dangerous. And I don't think I'd get a huge argument if I said Lincoln Riley might be the best play caller in college football.
I was thinking about this.
Well, don't tell that to the people that were carrying the Joe Moorhead spear last night. Jesus Christ!
What was that?
The Penn State offense coordinator. You would think that he's reinvented offense. All the people after Mississippi State hired him last night.
Oh, I mean, he's really good. Don't get me wrong, but
why? Because somebody in the Big Ten actually plays offense?
Yeah, he's largely squandered maybe the best running back talent since Adrian Peterson.
He's got a great tight end and a quarterback that was much better a year ago.
Yep.
I don't know.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think he's good, but
I'm not in love with
part
some
of it's
these
offensive
people.
line, but I think Riley's one of the better offensive play callers I've seen. Like the way he'll mix things up and come back, it's amazing.
All right, guys, we got to get out of here. That'll do it for this edition of the Unofficial 40. Big 12 Championship coming up next week. We'll know exactly where OU is headed. 11 a.m., I want to say, Sunday morning is when the selection show is. And then OU plays 11:30 on Saturday. So for Josh McQuistion, for Eddie Radosevich, I'm Kerry Murdoch, and we'll see you guys next time right back here on the Unofficial 40 on Soonerscoop.com.
Podcasts from Soonerscoop.com.